Welcome to JS Podcast, hosted by me, Snaky, and my friend Jack. So, Jack,
Yes, Snakey?
you know what we're talking about today?
You know what we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about the upcoming consoles, Xbox
AKA the
Series X
X and the PS5.
and PlayStation 5.
Yeah,
We're gonna be running down pretty much everything that's been linked about the two consoles, release dates, prices, and what's gonna happen to the console if it's gonna go well or
yeah,
not.
so if you were paying attention to, my main, channel, Snaky, link will be in the description, by the
We
way.
already done
Yeah, we
something
already,
about
we
that, but that's
already,
back then.
done, we
Like a
already talked about
podcast
the next
about the
generation consoles,
consoles.
but there's been a lot more information since we last talked about them.
Yeah,
So yeah. So let's start off with PlayStation 5.
yeah.
So recently, Sony announced that the DualShock 4 will work on the PS5. But however, there's a catch. And Jack, you know what that catch is?
It can only work with PlayStation 4 games and not with your PlayStation 5 games.
So, say for example, you're playing a multiplayer game on your PS5, and your friend comes over and they want to play, but they don't have a PS5, and you only have one
That
dual sense controller,
and,
and your
and
friend
that to me is just such a weird idea
yeah.
because
Cause
like
there's a
if
lot
you
of
look at the
there's
two
a lot of
controllers,
gamers who actually want to there's some
yeah,
gamers who actually just want to upgrade their
experience.
like
But
the
here's the weird
basically upgrade
part.
their I mean not upgrade but rather bring their legacy controls with them.
But not just that. What I find out is that if you look at the two controllers, the DualShock 4 and the DualSense, you can really just see with the buttons that there's really not a difference between them. So why
Yeah,
on earth with the controller?
it kind of almost looks like the dual Shock 4, but if you look closely, but
Just
there's
like the
there's only just slight changes, the design is a little bit
yeah.
different, but the way out the button layout is literally the exact same, so it won't
So I
really
really don't know. You
yeah.
don't even see any new
Whereas
buttons on the thing.
yeah, and well, speaking of PS5, the about around an hour after the PS5 announcement was made public, Xbox went out and said that the Xbox Series X will support every single Xbox One controller and accessory for the Series X for every single game. No matter if it's
That's amazing.
no matter if it's a Series X game or an Xbox One game. So that basically gamers can actually play their games. And not just that, they also said that their controller will work on the old console. So pretty much if you have an Xbox One but don't want to go for the Series X, you could still pick up the controller and
No
it'll work on
problem.
on your console.
Now, Xbox was never the first one to actually do this feature. Nintendo was the first to actually use the idea of pretty much you can use your controllers from the GameCube, Nintendo 64, and Wii, and you can use it on your Wii U or Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, but the thing is that Jack can I just saying
Yeah,
even though Xbox might not be the first, they might be the first to do it wirelessly.
yeah, that is
Because
true.
those controllers are wired.
Yeah,
So, for anyone who doesn't know the specs of the PS5 and Xbox Series X, pretty much the Xbox Series X, well, the power of it is 12 teraflops, and pretty much the PS5 has about 10 teraflops of the GPU power. But
SP
basically, what like is going to be a little bit interesting about the new consoles is the SSD speed. So the Xbox Series X is running SSD is running at about 2.4 like hertz, whereas the PS5 will be running at about 5.5, which is literally faster than any SSD that you could get on the high-end PCs. Right, Jack?
Yeah, that's right.
But here's the thing is that although the PS5's SSD may be faster than the Xbox Series X's SSD, the
The space for like your games is
basically the
is a lot
space.
smaller.
Yeah, so pretty much the PS5 is going to be capped at about 825 gigabits, whereas the Xbox Series X will be running at a full terabyte. Now, both of these consoles have confirmed that they will have expansion slots for an external like SSD, so like you know you can store like your games and other stuff. Like Microsoft's already confirmed the type of like SSD that you need for the Series X. However, the PS5 is still yet to be shown.
As the wall looks between Xbox and PlayStation, it's not are not in a good place right now.
So is Xbox.
They're really not. Yeah,
They're-
but Xbox has a lot of features that are really good, while PlayStation still has a lot of the same features.
Yeah, apparently there's like a patent that like I showed that the PS5 might have some features that were originally in the Xbox One. And while those features that were taken from the Xbox One aren't actually in the Xbox One anymore, but still.
But I feel like
So
we need to
for the-
talk about like
so
when
for
the
the-
PlayStation 5 games
Yeah.
as well, because that when if you watch the Spider-Man Miles Morales trailer, you would see it runs 4K. Where in actual reality, it only runs how many frames was it again when
Well,
the actual
actually,
gameplay
okay,
was
so
shown?
basically there was like a rumor that the PS5 might be doing like checkerboarding 4K, which basically puts all the resolution in 1440p or 1080p, and then they pretty much fill the checked like resolution in like 4K. But however, this rumor was claimed to be
Yeah.
false by the actual official like developer.
Yeah.
The Xbox
So-
Series X, on the other hand, like might not have this problem.
But that is really just to be determined because one, the console has not been released yet, and two, it's not long now till it actually gets released because the day of the Xbox Series X release date is now confirmed.
Well, not officially by Microsoft, but rather by a leak.
I wonder,
So like
I wonder
pretty
just
much like you
say
know
once
like
again?
Xbox they confirmed that the Xbox Series X will be coming in November. However, there's no like date yet, and PlayStation hasn't actually revealed the month yet. But they said that it's not delayed to 2021.
And let's talk about one of the Xbox Series X games that has been recently been announced that it will be delayed, and that is Halo Infinite.
Yeah, so if you guys didn't hear that Halo Infinite was meant to be a launch title for the Series X, but unfortunately,
Yeah.
due to like the gameplay, which was pretty bad.
But they did say it's meant to, like, you know, be like the original game, which, okay, but it doesn't look good at all, if I'm gonna be honest.
If it's meant to be a Series X game, it even looks terrible to the Xbox 360 graphics.
It looks like a PlayStation 3 game, not gonna lie, in terms of graphics.
Yeah, and not just that, but pretty much Microsoft announced that this game will have a free-to-play multiplayer and will also support 120 frames per second. Now that's double of like the 60 frames per second that most of us like console like users are used to.
One, and I feel like to me this is
But
probably
here's the
like
thing
some
as
sort of
well,
like
that's also kind of
passion.
like rumors about about Halo Infinite. Like it was originally meant to come on PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. However, there's a recent rumor that it might not come to Xbox One at all. What
Hmm.
would you say, Jack?
I'd say that it's possible that they might release on Xbox One, but judging on the gameplay, I think because this is probably only meant for like PC and Xbox Series X, I feel like the frames and that won't like be able to handle like I don't think the Xbox One would handle the amount of energy the game would have.
Yeah.
Showing you how it would mainly be a launch title for pretty much Xbox Series X and will be used on PC.
Yeah, so also one feature that the Xbox One Xbox Series X will have is if you have any Xbox One game that's on the Series X as well, you can pretty much get like the Series X upgrades for free. Like you don't need to download anything. You just put your disc in and then you have and then you have like that Series X game for free. Whether it's
Nice.
physical or digital.
And Xbox announced that they're no longer in the console wars, which thank God because really it's just stupid
Phil
now.
Spencer, head of Xbox, he basically put out a statement saying if we were still in the console wars, that we wouldn't put our games on PC. We wouldn't make xCloud. Like, they don't care if they, sell more consoles than the PS5. All they just really care about is you being in their ecosystem. Now let's talk about some of the services that the PS5 and Xbox Series X will probably most definitely have.
PlayStation Plus for sure. It's definitely going to be one that is going to be on the PlayStation 5 because it's pretty much it's been around ever since PlayStation 3, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be around for pretty much for the next few decades or so.
Yeah, and then Xbox has the Xbox Live Gold. But then if you look at their
Uh,
game streaming services, so PlayStation has their PlayStation Now, and Xbox has their Xbox Game Pass. And if you ask a lot of gamers, and what's something kind of ironic
preferred
is that PS
they
Now
prefer the
only
Game Pass.
has over 2 million subscribers, whereas Game Pass has over 10 million subscribers. And the ironic thing is that PlayStation has sold more consoles than Microsoft, so
Yeah, and they're in the rankings as that they sold the most copies of one of their best consoles ever, which that is the PlayStation 2.
yeah. Which is
One thing
like
I
still
find
to this
so
day the most
uh,
sold console of all time. Mainly because it
and
was the
there's a good
cheapest
reason for
DVD
that.
player that you could get.
Yeah, because back then, before you had Netflix or Disney Plus or Hulu or anything, you had to get a DVD player, and back then they would be very expensive. And when the PlayStation 2, it it not just only worked with games, but it also worked with DVDs.
Yeah,
And back then, that was the cheapest DVD player around, and it sold very well.
yeah.
And this
And
has
like
been used pretty much on all consoles ever since. The PlayStation 3, the PS4, possibly the PlayStation 5.
well like the regular version.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pretty much like one thing that like Sony never included in the PS4 and the PS4 Pro that the Xbox One S and the Xbox One I mean X had is like an Ultra HD Blu-ray like like player, whereas like the PS4 had like a like they just had like a regular HD Blu-ray player. But now both the Series X and the PS5 will have a 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray player.
And what else is there to talk about for these two consoles?
Well,
Oh
about these two
yeah,
consoles.
there was. Oh yeah, so a video on IGN. If you're subscribed to their YouTube channel, they made a video of pretty much one of the people played one of the PlayStation 5 games for the very first time.
If you're wondering who
And
this
try out
person
the
is,
PlayStation 5
this
controller.
person's called Jeff Keighley. He's hosted things like the Game Awards and stuff like that. He recently had a hands-on review of the DualSense.
And at the end, he had an interview with one of the people on Sony.
Yeah, and they pretty much like announced like everything about the PS5. And well, speaking of like the PS5, Microsoft has officially revealed the UI for the Series X. Now, the UI for the Series X is not. It's like very like similar to the current one on your Xbox One. However, one of the new features that they added was an animated background. And not just that, they said that it's going to feel a lot faster than the current dashboard, as well as like the shop is also going to feel a lot faster.
But we also need to talk about the lifespan of these consoles. So I bet you a lot of you people may be asking, well, what's going to be the lifespan of these new consoles?
Yeah, a
You're
lot of
going to
people,
be shocked at what the
like a lot of
lifespan
people will
is.
speculate about 67 years because that's usually the average lifespan.
But here's the actual lifespan of them. 1 year.
Not actually 1 year, 4 years.
Oh yeah, 4 years. And that is just so beyond me, showing how like
Yeah, because
consoles like the
4
Wii.
years, like that would actually more likely be like just like every console generation we usually gotten like a mid-gen like refresh. Like for
Like
example,
7 years to nearly a decade.
Like you know that there would be like mid-gen like refresh. Like for example, the PS4 Pro and Xbox One X were basically mid-gen refreshes of like the Xbox One and PS4. And pretty much their kind of thing is that there might not be a PS5 Pro or like other Xbox One X. And speaking of the Xbox One X, in the files there's another like a console codenamed Lockhart, which people are calling the Xbox Series S. And recently there was a controller leak by a Reddit user who has recently deleted his account. And pretty much it showed the Xbox controller, like the Xbox Series X controller, but in white. And then about a couple of weeks ago, someone was able to buy the controller off a reseller like a website. And on the packaging you could clearly see that it says Xbox Series X/S.
And if you're not sure what the Xbox Series Series S is, pretty much this is going to be a light version. So the best way to compare it is like to like a Nintendo Switch Lite. Like, you know, it's cheaper, not as powerful, but can hold like a lot of storage.
Yeah, so pretty much like they kind of said with the Xbox Series S is that it's gonna have the exact same CPU as the Xbox Series X, but it's gonna have a less powerful GPU, and that it'll be like a diskless like a version.
And like a few examples
Now
of
there
this
is
would possibly
rumors that
be like a
there's like
PlayStation
two versions
Slim.
of the Xbox Series S. One being like one with a controller, one be without a controller. The one without a controller would probably be for people who already own an Xbox One because pretty much like the controller can work on the Series like X and S. And then there's like the one with the controllers, like, you know, for people who are who are wanting to get into the Xbox like industry. Yeah, speaking of Xbox's series, speaking of like the Xbox like Series X, like there was like a Monster Energy might have accidentally leaked the price, so they said that
Sandy
there's,
big.
so they pretty much like put this like price, like can't remember the exact amount, but pretty much like, they said 200. If you divide it by 200, it would have equaled 599. However, like
Jeez.
I do not believe that this is actually the official price, because I believe that this is probably just a placeholder. Because both
Well, if it is,
Sony
then
and
that's bloody
Microsoft are literally just
expensive.
waiting for the for like each other to like basically reveal the price first. Because there's like recently reports that that Microsoft is trying to undercut Sony despite having the more powerful console.
Another thing to talk about is like some of the Xbox exclusive games, like Cuphead, it's has now been shipped to PlayStation or Nintendo Switch.
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
more recent ones, which was like Scroll Tail or something, it's now
Super
like
Lucky Tail.
Super Lucky Tail. It's no longer it's no longer an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, because it was recently put on the Nintendo Switch, and I think it is coming to PlayStation 4. But speaking
Because
of
that
like
did happen to
PS5
Cuphead.
like exclusives, there is this game that was meant to be coming to the PS5. It was called Marta is Dead. But however, recently it was shown on the Xbox. It was shown on Xbox, and it didn't. And there wasn't even like any mention of Sony. So pretty much
So
like, well,
they
if we're
might have
talking
the
about like
hands on the
games
game
that like
now.
show the advantages of the PS5, take Ratchet and Clank for example. When you saw like them go through the rift, like obviously you see that there would have been like a loading screen, but since like both the PS5 and Xbox Series X are using SSDs, you could clearly see that there was like no like loading screen.
So that's just to show how powerful and how fast the consoles are.
Yeah, and one thing that the Xbox Series X could do is it can run about at least like 4 or 5 games at like the same time, and they'll be running even if the console is fully switched off.
That's amazing.
Also, when we're talking about the controllers, the Xbox Series X controller, the only thing that's really different between them is like the share button, but they've also tampered the size a little bit so that it's like good for like small hands, but they said that it's also going to be comfortable for like the bigger hands.
Speaking of the controllers, people are getting worried about the PlayStation 5 controller showing how it's very heavy. Showing how people might think it's going to be very heavy, the controller.
Yeah, because of the new like haptic like feedback. Also, like there was like by the time like we're recording this video, there was actually like a new like feature coming to the DualSense controller. Will basically have like a sensor and like and it'll basically know who is holding the controller and who's like and like you know when it's not being held. Similar to like what you would find in like a like something like an AirPod, for example, because where it's like, you know, the like with AirPods, like, you know, they basically detect if they are in an ear or not.
Yeah. Another thing to talk about. Let's talk about some of like the games that are going to be on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. So pretty much one. So one of the ones you probably already know that's going to be for the PlayStation 5 is going to be. It's going to be Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ratchet Clank, and there's going to be more, such as Resident Evil Village, Gran Turismo. For Xbox Series X, we have Halo Infinite.
Forza
What else?
Motorsport. We have State of Decay 3. We have a game called Grounded.
Wait, which is
And basically
already
what they
out.
said, what was going to be like interesting about these games is that they will be launching day one on the Game Pass. So if you are an Xbox Game Pass subscriber, and when these games come out, you can just simply download these games.
Already, some people already have their hands on the games. On Grounded.
Yeah, because Grounded.
Which on gameplay, it look for the Grounded gameplay, it looks really good. I have to say, probably
Yeah, like
gives me a lot of Ark
it
Survival
was kind of funny
vibes
when
to
like in
it.
the game showcase they kind of like took a Mickey out of like Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Speaking of Cyberpunk, that's also going to be released on both consoles.
Yeah, it'll be released on
And we also
on the
have to
current
talk
gen and
about
next gen.
We also need to talk about the packaging for these games. So PlayStation, so Sony leaked the packaging,
Well,
and
not the
so
leaks,
far,
rather like revealed.
yeah, they revealed it.
And pretty much
And
all
was
it really is, it's pretty much the current
the PlayStation
PS4
4
one, but however,
with the
like
blue
the logo's
plastic.
replaced with PlayStation, like the only thing difference is that the logo is placed with with white, and then the PS5 is in black. Like honestly,
I
I
was
do
really
not
expecting something special.
honestly a lot of
They
a
could
lot some
change the
like fans.
plastic.
Yeah, like honestly, like like the plastic should have been like at least black or like white to like match like the PS5 like logo, like the PS4 one
Yeah,
and like
the plastic should have matched. The like the paper thing. I don't mind it. It's like the blue like plastic. I really have a problem with. It just doesn't suit it. And
now
they should have just
Xbox
put
on the other
like
hand, like
plastic.
they've revealed their box arts. And pretty much their box art, all it just says, it's pretty much like the Xbox One box art, but however, they just got rid of the one that just says Xbox. And like on the back or like at the front, it'll be very small sticker that'll show optimized for Series X. Which pretty much means that like that game will take advantage of the Xbox. I was speaking of like the Xbox, they announced something called their Velocity architecture, which means they kind of said one of the things that they did is that in the current generation, like reason why most games didn't run as powerful is because like most of the excess power had to go straight to the CPU. So they're basically saying that they're finding an alternative way to store that power somewhere else, so that developers can use the full power of the CPU.
And let's talk about the games that will be released on both consoles. So we got Watch Dogs, we got Cyberpunk, we also got like the Horizon. We got the sequel to Horizon Zero
Which will
Dawn.
only be coming in 2021.
Sadly, Resident Evil Village is also going to be released to both consoles.
And speaking of Resident Evil Village, a lot of people are calling it Resident Evil 8 because if you look at the logo, you can clearly see
Yeah,
an
it's
8. But
meant to-
however, Capcom has
Doesn't
said
like
that
the way how people call it.
doesn't people call it wants to stop people calling it Resident Evil 8 because that the name of it is Village.
Yeah. Even though it's meant to be a direct sequel to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, where pretty much the main character saves his girlfriend.
Yeah, because like it kind of feels forever since we actually got like an actual like Resident Evil sequel rather than a reboot, right?
Yeah. Yeah. To anyone who's watching this video, type in the comments down below which console you might be going for. Is it Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5?
Alright, yeah, comment that. Before you ask me, I'm actually gonna go for the Xbox Series X because I don't really care about like how powerful it is or the games, I
You
really
just want to change.
like. Just like
Like,
I've
with
been with
the-
PlayStation since I was about 9 years old. I'm 16, by the way. And
Yeah.
I kind of want to like like change like move over to like Xbox because I kind of want to try it out. Also, like what speaking of like Xbox and like their Game Pass, like one of the deals that Game Pass has is pretty much like you can get a subscription which allows you to have a Game Pass and Xbox Live Gold in the exact same bundle. So instead of paying for two separate things, you pay for one thing. And that's really
That's amazing.
PS Now on your hand does not offer that.
And
And
if you,
speaking of like the bundle that you could get like a Xbox Live like Gold in it, like the new the new xCloud, which will be launching next month, will basically basically allow you to play your games on your Android device. Now you may be thinking it's coming to Apple, but unfortunately it's not coming to Apple as of right now. So it'll only be on Android. And like I've heard from like a lot of like developers, and playtesters, they said that Xbox Game Pass runs better than Google Stadia. And let me tell you something, is that we do not want to talk about that console.
that's a bloody sin to talk about. That's a terrible console. It's full of lies. When they announced it, don't buy it. Just don't buy it.
Because here's the thing, okay?
Or give me a...
Because here's the thing about the Google like Stadia, like it said that it was meant to like stream games and basically was meant to like run games like 4K. And a lot of people were saying that like the PS5 and Xbox Series X might be the last consoles. However, I don't seem that that's the actual case, as the
people reported it's not in 4K.
Yeah, here's the thing what was reported. So, when Stadia first launched, people had issues. Like
they need an activation
never
code.
even got like people who pre-ordered it never even got their like activation code. And that people who like basically bought like the subscription, to play the games, they only got a handful selection of games. They didn't get a lot of games.
And they would run in 4K. And if you wanted to run 4K, you would pay the full price of the console.
Jack, not just 4K, but not even HD.
And if you wanted the full experience,
you had to pay the full price for the game.
You needed to pay the full price. So imagine you were playing Spider-Man PS4 on the Google Stadia, and that game costs usually around €60, right?
60 to imagine €70,
it doesn't
depending
run
on what
it.
version you get.
Yeah. And imagine, like, it doesn't run 4K. You hoped it to. So, you have an option for it, but you need to pay the full price you need to pay the exact same price for that game.
And let's not
So you're
forget
literally just
that
paying...
that like there's the reports of lagging. Like even in like its first ever showcase, it showcased
and
like
even connection errors.
Yeah.
And like not just that, when they showed someone like playing on the computer, that wasn't actual gameplay. That was just a video of That's just a video of gameplay from like one of the consoles, and someone just like tried to like copy the way how the character is moving. So that's just false advertisement right there.
Yeah. I'm all like if you're wondering, like, I'm going back to this, but if you're wondering why a lot of people prefer Xbox Game Pass over the PS Now, well, there's like some
you
of the main
need to stream games on PlayStation Now.
Yeah, a PlayStation Now will there is like a few games that you can download, but most of the games you have to stream, and like not just that, but most of the games on PS Now are like not really like first party games, and not just that, they don't even get like like day and day like releases. Xbox
And let's also
Game
talk
Pass
about what
and not just
PlayStation
that,
is.
and Xbox on PS Now, it's also on PC. However, all the PC games must be streamed. And no, I'm not talking about streaming like putting out like Twitch, YouTube, like Facebook Gaming, etc. I'm talking about like pretty much I have to stream the game on your console, right?
Yeah.
It's like similar to like Google like Stadia.
And
Xbox
let's
Game
talk
Pass,
about
on like the other hand, you can actually like download like all the games, and not just that on the PC as well. You could also download the games on the PC, which is actually a better deal.
It is, if you ask me.
Yeah. So what were you going to say, Jack?
So, if I were to, like, because, like, it won't be long until, like, the consoles come out, if I had to really just genuinely pick, I might not go for any of them, because really, I just want to try out, like, Nintendo Switch for once in my lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of these consoles, although like the release, well, that's been released for one of the consoles, like there's like a rumor, about the release dates of these new consoles. So it's a rumor that the
November is going to be for the
Xbox
Xbox Series
Series
X.
S might release on the 5th of November. The Xbox Series X might release on like about the 6th of November. The PS5 and PS5 Digital Edition will release either the 13th or 14th of November.
And if you're watching this video, and if you still don't have a PlayStation 5, and you still have like if you still don't have a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, and you want to know the lifespan of like your console that you have, or that be like an Xbox or
Wait, what do you
PlayStation
mean,
4.
No, you don't have. No one has the consoles yet,
No, like if they're watching it when when they are released.
Yeah, true.
The lifespan for the PlayStation 4 will be the lifespan of 3 years. So that ranges
You mean
until
PS5?
2023.
3 or 4 years.
And what's the lifespan for Xbox?
Well, they haven't actually officially well, no one actually knows what the lifespan is, but I think like Xbox, like they might go like kind of like although they're doing something different like this generation, I think like they're gonna be doing like the exact same thing like they did like last like year. Yeah, like keep the traditional like 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
And well, speaking of like the PS5, like I don't know if I said this before, but like I kinda just told Jack this, but pretty much unlike the PS5's 825 gigabits, 175 of that is only going to be used for like system like
For system space.
for like system memory. So like basically when you get like a new console, new phone, etc., a bunch of that space is already going to be taken up. Like that's
not a good thing.
Like
that's not a
especially
good
when
thing.
it's 175 out of 800.
Like say if you want to put like something like your
825.
favorite games on the thing. Like say if you want to put like your favorite games like Cuphead or I don't know, Alien Isolation, only
Or
for
Call
like
of Duty.
yeah, or Call of Duty or the
'Cause
latest
if you
Last
look
of
at
Us
it,
Part 2.
games, I don't know if you
they range
noticed,
from
but
like
games
at least 10
have been getting larger in the past few
like
years.
and not just like popularity, the amount of space they will take on your console. If I go up to my PlayStation right now, grab let's see, I don't know, like Alien Isolation for example, the amount of it'll have 24 gigabytes. And showing how what did you say, Snakey, about how many gigabytes they will have for PlayStation 5 if you're like playing video games?
Like it says it's supposed
Like the amount of space?
It's supposed to have 825, but since 175 is already taken away, it'll be 650. No, I know you were talking about like a 20
650.
gigabit game, but if I was talking about something like, say for example, Call of Duty,
Or
especially
Last of
like
Us.
Modern Warfare, that game is over 100 gigabits.
And and if you at least if you want to put like all of your Call of Duties, which there will be 5 of them, onto your PlayStation 5, you're really gonna actually just be maxed out with 5, and not like like 6 or 7 or 10 of Call of
Xbox
Duties.
Series X on your end, like there might be
Fully
some of this,
compatible.
there might be some like space of the Xbox Series X taken, but it probably might not be a lot. But at the same time, it'll still have enough to pretty much like store a lot of games. Because
Yeah.
really, the largest you can get on a console right now is a terabyte.
Yeah.
And trust me, when you get a terabyte of space, that's a
You
lot.
have so much. You literally have pretty much so much space to just add all of your games on it.
Yeah, and one of the
They
things that's
want that you
like,
always want to
in like
play.
this console generation that was like external like hard drives, on like in the new generation you can get like you can still use your external like hard drives, but they kind of said, it's like for example the Xbox, but they kind of said that the Xbox like Series X, like the Series X games in particular will need the external like SSD, but if you're talking about your regular Xbox One games, they can still use the hard drive.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, and like speaking like about the PS5 and Xbox Series X, some developers have actually revealed that they don't like working like on like the current gen like hardware, because if you look at the current gen hardware, most of their hardware was mostly like it wasn't really like powerful. Like they're using something called a Jaguar like CPU, which like is like as powerful as like a mobile.
Wow.
But however, the Series X and PS5 will be running will be running AMD Ryzen Zen 2s, which basically are as powerful as the top end PCs. So that's gonna be really powerful, right?
It is definitely powerful.
Yeah, it is gonna be very powerful.
I think that's all there is to say about the 2 consoles right now.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast.
We
If
might
you,
make a
if,
part 3 of this
yeah,
like this series of like talking about these 2 consoles when we get more information about them before they are released.
yeah, we'll talk more about these, but if there's any topic that you want us to talk about, whether it's gaming or whatever, not
Gaming
political,
or like what's happening,
yeah,
whether it be like movies, shows, just type it down in the comments. I will try and do it for you.
yeah, so, thank you for watching the very first episode of the JS podcast. I'm your host, Snaky, and Jack, and we are signing out. Peace.
See you all.